All right, good morning. We're going to do kvCore Present. This is our CMA tool that we use in kvCore, and so I wanted to create this little video so that you have a kind of a record to follow along next time you create your own CMA presentation. There are typically quite a few things that we need to do in order to do a CMA in kvCore. It's a great tool. It looks really good as far as presentation goes. But sometimes the most recent sales in a CMA on a listing doesn't always import into kvCore. And so there's a few things that we're going to do to kind of help you kind of mitigate if you get a low return on possible comparative properties there. So you're going to find it in the marketing tab of kvCore. So that's the little arrow there. And if you're missing it, you can always hit the hamburger menu here and get the kvCore that way. And then once you click on the marketing, you just scroll down to Core Present. That is the CMA tool that we use because you're creating a presentation there. So you're going to get started. It's going to open up in a new tab. Now, if you haven't already, there's some custom settings in there, such as a About Me page and testimonials that you can put into there. So I do strongly recommend that you do that prior to setting up your first CMA. If you've already put your bio in on your kvCore profile, you won't need to do that, although you can customize it, add a secondary picture if you wanted to, and then adding those testimonials, you can add up to 3 in there. So strongly recommend that you do that. That's in the custom settings up here at the top. But today we're going to focus on creating that presentation. We did a previous video on how to do a buyer's presentation, so make sure you check that one out. This one's going to be on the seller's side. So we're going to, in this box here, presentation for sellers, we're going to click Start. It's going to ask for the address of the property that you want to do, and so pick any property that is your target property. We'll use my personal property just for reference. Oops. And then once you start to type it in, give it a pause. It's going to read the county records and pull in that particular property. And so you just click on that little blue bar there. It will automatically import the city and state. You're going to hit next, and then you're going to just verify some quick information here, such as bedroom count, single family, square footage, and year built. If that information is correct, or if you have to make changes, then you can go ahead and do that here and then hit next comparable details. As you can see, lots of properties popped up in the vicinity. If you scroll up to the top here, you'll see that single family homes, strictly looking at 4 bedrooms, square foot is a 20% range on either side of your target. All years are considered in this. So if you have a particularly old home, you may want to adjust that accordingly to maybe a 10-year difference on either side. We'll talk through that. And this is a 6-month supply with a 1-mile radius. Now, ideally, we want to have at least 3 for comps to justify the price that we're about to set. And you can see here I have 2 that are actively for sale, 2 that are pending, and 3 that have sold within that criteria that we see at top. So with this one, we really are in good shape. 6 months ago, this would have been different. There may not have been any in there. But if you do need to make changes, if there's not that much criteria there for you to go on, then you're going to want to adjust some of your settings over here. Property type should be correct. It's always set at single family if it was a single family home. But if it comes up as single family, it actually happens to be a condo, you're going to want to change that. For bed count, if you don't have a sufficient amount, say this is a 4-bedroom, you may want to range this to 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, just kind of depending. Gives you a little bit more idea of what comps will come in. Square footage, as I mentioned before, you've got 20% on both sides of the living square foot. And so that's usually a pretty good indicator for that. I don't usually change that very often. Year built, I may change. I may go 10 years of each side of it. So let's just see if this changes our search criteria here. We're going to change the year range, and we'll go 1988 to 2008. Let's just see how that changes our criteria. Watch our map change once I hit accept on that. So, yep, exactly what I thought. It goes 0, 0, 0. So nothing in that vicinity within that 10-year each side gap. So maybe I just clear that filter, bring those back. We'll just leave it there for now. And then another criteria that you can change is your close date. If you go out a year, just know the market was very different a year ago than it was just in the last 6 months. And if you're in a particular tight market, if things are really changing fast, you may even go to 3. Lot size doesn't matter a whole lot, especially in a city area like I'm at. But if you are looking at acreage, half acre or more, you may want to change that lot size so you're looking at good comparables. You can also enter individual MLS IDs into here and rack it into your report, and sometimes that's necessary. For instance, if we were to stick with that 10-year either side of my year built there, I may have to go to Flex MLS and punch in my address and look at other properties that have sold in that area. So there can be quite a bit of work to do. And I will say this too, when you're doing a CMA, it's not uncommon to do a good one. It takes at least an hour to 2 hours to really do the research and do some digging in. There's multiple websites that you can use, such as FlexMLS. RPR is a great one to use. In fact, if kvCore's presentation wasn't so clean and crispy, really appeals to the client, I would be using RPR. So with our criteria in this one, you can see that we have 2 actives, 2 pending, and sold match. A couple of things to talk about here. Used to be that we would always look at what's sold most recently and what it went for. But the market moves so quickly that probably pending and active are our most accurate gauge. Especially now that things are starting to cool off a little bit. We want to price ours competitively in the market that's for sale. We can't change what things have sold for, whether it went above asking, below asking, or whatever, but our property can be in competition with those that are active and pending. So a little bit of shift in philosophy there when it comes to creating comps. So next we want to go to build CMA. We have enough adequate here. Again, minimum 3, probably no more than 6 in your comps. You don't want to overwhelm your potential seller. So we're going to research these and look and see, are they truly comparables? My neighborhood is kind of a mix. My immediate neighborhood is fairly new, 1998 and newer. Around my neighborhood, though, are some older homes. We're going to take a look and just see what we've got going on here. So we're going to go to Build CMA. It's going to take us into the next page, giving it some time to populate. The top part of this is your kind of validation, what the property is, how many coming soons, actives, pendings, and closed, and a little bit of our search criteria. Then we're going to move down and we're going to see a map of what is pulled in for average closed comps, active comps, and pending comps. And then we'll see those houses listed here. Now I know for a fact that in my neighborhood, my house will easily sell for $380 to $420, somewhere in there. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, why are these comps the way that they are? So I want to do a little digging into these and try to get a little bit of understanding of what was pulled into my current comps here. So I'm going to go to View Results. This is going to pop up all the homes that were pulled in from kvCore there. So this Burke one here, I'm going to look at the details on the side here. I see that it was built in 1965, so a good 20 years older than mine. It is 4 bedrooms, 2 bath. My house is 4 bedrooms, 3 bath. Mine is a ranch style. This is 2-story, detached garage. So definitely probably not really in my comp area. You notice this one is starred. Now I may use this as an example of bottom price. Like we know my house, the target house is going to sell more for $249 because it's a much newer, much more updated, those sorts of things. I'm going to take a look at the Sandling Court. A little bit closer to mine. You can tell it's a newer construction. Now this is a split level. I'm a single floor ranch with a fully completed basement. Very open plan here. Much smaller kitchen, but is more open. built in 2024 for quite a bit newer home. That one's listed at $379, so I may keep this one in my comps. It's fairly close to my neighborhood. Going to go to Carlton right around the corner. Now this is a much older neighborhood, 1959, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, sold for $259. If I scroll down to the bottom, I can see what it was listed for at $259, listed on $516. So this is a pending comp. I may even reach out to the listing agent and say, hey, just out of curiosity, what did your house actually sell for? Listing agent doesn't have to tell me, but there's no harm in me asking. Again, not a comparable one, so you notice the thumbs up. This one could be considered in there, but it's really not. So I'm going to trash can this one and just get it right out of my comps altogether. Going to look at Eventide, a little more similar to mine. It's a little bit older house. Let's take a look at the year on this one. So 1969, it's 20 years older. Square foot's fairly the same, 4-bedroom, only 2-bath. I have an extra bath on mine. This one went at $369 pending. Okay. So this one I might reach out, and if it sold at $369 or above, I know I'm easily going to be able to get $369 or more for mine. But I also want to look on the inside and see how it's been updated. Outside looks really nice and clean. Let's take a look at the inside. So it's clearly been renovated. It's updated. It looks like newer carpet, clean paint. Still got the older cabinets, been repainted. It looks like maybe resurfaced. Nice little countertop, but it's a shotgun kitchen, so a little bit on the smaller side. Just going to scroll through those pictures and just kind of see, compared to my target home, is it more or less, right? So if it's less than, if the target home is less renovated and less up to date, then I know at 370 I might be coming down on mine, depending on square foot and everything else. If this happened to be an older style home, hadn't been renovated, then I know at 370 my target home, if it has been renovated and updated, would be above the 370. So we're kind of thinking through these things of apples to apples. What are we looking at here? Looks like the basement's been done. All in all, very nice home. Same style deck, maybe a little bit bigger on this one. It does have a walkout door, but not a slider on it on the bottom. Nice big deck there. Looking at the yard, those sorts of events. So this one's fairly comparable. I'm going to star this one because I like having that in my comps. The price tells me we're probably in a ball game, those sorts of things. I'm going to look at Marietta, much older home, 2-story, built in 1948, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, was only 1 full bath. It's a little bit larger square foot wise, technically, probably because of the upstairs. Let's look through the pictures real quick. It's really not comparable. Yeah, a little older style home, older paint, older kitchen. And that one went at 270. I don't want to include this one in my comps. I'm going to take rid of it. Now Edith is right down the road from me, but it's in the older section of the homes. But it went at 361. And let's take a look here. It originally listed at 349 and sold for 361 just a couple of weeks ago, right? So I know if this home goes for that much, I'm easily within my realm of maybe a $380,000 to $400,000 for my home in comparison. Let's just take a quick look at the inside. Let's make sure that it's been renovated and updated pretty well. Decent enough paint, older countertops. It's got the old style baguette for dining. Now they did a nice job of painting the cabinets, but they are old cabinets. Nice old style wood, a little bit dated. Finished basement. But overall, nice home. You can see why it went for the price that it did. So definitely starring this one. And then on Drexel, a single family home, or I'm sorry, a single story home, 1980, full 4 bedroom, 2 bath, still 1 bath shorter. $355 was the price on this one. Sold just in February for $35,000 above asking. Okay. Pretty decent updates in there. so now we have at least a couple of comparisons. I like the Sanderling Coit because it's newer. The Burke, I'm going to get rid of that. It's really not a good comp for us. I think we'll leave the Eventide in there, 369. And Drexel, I really think we should get rid of it at 335. It might bring my comp down to get rid of that one. So we've got three total results there that are somewhat comparable. Gives us a little bit of edge to present to our client. All right, so now you can see those comps are reflected in there. The lowest is at 361, the highest is at 379. And at any time I can click on this one, see what that one was to remind me. Again, this one is active, so it hasn't sold. This one could conceivably go for well over 379. We just don't know. It may not even hurt to put a call into the listing agent and say, hey, what kind of offers are you getting? Can you just kind of help me understand what the market's doing right now? Sometimes they'll respond, sometimes they won't. Just depends on the agent. So, all right. So the next thing we want to do is add in our virtual estimates, our Zillows, our Trulias, our Redfins, those sorts of things. So we can do this. So I'm going to grab the property address, copy, Control C, copy it. And then I'm going to go to Zillow. It's the one that most people are familiar with, that they typically use. And so we'll put that address into there. And we're going to look and see what is the Zestimate on it. So if we look at it, Zestimate here is 368,700. I'm going to go back to my kvCore Present, and I'm going to add that into estimates. I'm going to click on this add-on. It's the internal estimator. I'm going to type in Zillow, and what was it, 368,700, I think, whatever it is, it's as long as it's close. Then I got to add it, or else it won't go in there. I'm also going to go to Realtor.com because that's our NAR one. We pay our dues that contributes to this. And so I'll paste in our address there as well. We'll see what Realtor estimates it at. 369,852. And then we're going to go to Homes.com. They're the guys that spent $7 million each on 4 ads in the Super Bowl. So they're really working to get market share in the home value market. 366,001. And then last but not least, and you can fill in Redfin or Trulia, whatever you want there. I always go to RPR. It is also through NAR that we have access to this. And if you haven't played around RPR, I strongly encourage you to do so. Great tool. I find that they tend to be the most accurate when it comes to home values. Plus, you get all of your information in there. So RPR is saying 395, 330. There's a couple of things here that I really like. One, their confidence. And I've pretty much listed all of my homes based on RPR. They seem to be the most accurate, and I've never been off base. What I also like about them is they give a range, kind of a worst case to best case scenario range. And you can also see market changes over the year. You can see home prices in my area have gone up 6.7%, but in the last month it's gone down $4,800. But I really like this number here. Obviously, it's a great number, 395, 330. We'll add that into there. Okay, and you have to make sure you add it or it won't be in there. Now I go over here, exit out, and then when we look at our map, we'll see all of those online comps pulled into there. And so we can kind of get a feel for the average. Adam estimates it at 422, which was the higher end of RPR. Adam is typically a little bit lower. Zillow, I find, tends to be the least of them. RPR tends to be the most accurate, in my opinion. Now, markets change all the time. Things are crazy. So I'm seeing 391-ish here is around it. So I'm thinking probably 389, 390, somewhere in there is probably the right ballpark number based on comps, based on the computer models, somewhere in this range there. So as I'm thinking through price and how I'm going to talk about it with my client, I'm going to think the three price tier, and we'll go over that here in another video, um, where I'm thinking worst case scenario, you're probably around the 365, 370. Best case scenario, we could get as high as 420, 425. So I probably want to land kind of in the middle there. And so 380, 389, somewhere in there is probably the right number based on the comps that I'm seeing. Now, when I'm in RPR, I also do scroll down and I look at all the information that they give me. Uh, there's your parcel number, your tax ID, which could be abbreviated. It may not be the whole thing. But I'm also looking at who the owners are. Is there one or two, right? How long have they owned it, okay? At 19 years, I can pretty much guess there's going to be some pretty good equity in here. But I don't have to guess too much because they tell me exactly what they did when they bought the home. So in 2005, they bought it. It looks like they did two mortgages right at once. And for those of you post 2008, it was very common for buyers to do 100% mortgages. You would take out a loan on the principal amount, 20% below, and then take out a second mortgage right away on that 20%. So it was very common there. Good news is they bought it when the market was good. We're going to actually look at the mortgage itself, and I'll be able to see the history of that mortgage. Looks like they took out a new conventional mortgage, probably a second mortgage from when they bought their first home. In fact, it is. We had that second loan had to come due, so we took out a mortgage on that, and then they refinanced probably in 2012. Here is more likely what that is. Okay, you can see more details. All right, lots of information there. You can see tax history and everything, so you kind of know what taxes have been. You can see how they've risen up over the years. Okay, but I know there's two owners. I know approximately what they paid for originally on the home back in 2005, right? So I have that information in order to create my net sheet. So I've got my data, I've done my research, now it's time to create the presentation. So I'm going to go over here to the top and create presentation. And we've got this pretty much set up so that you don't really have to do a whole lot. You get to choose your themes. Now I switched to office team. You can have individual ones. You'll automatically be the office team in your listing. And you can choose different themes. You can choose traditional, modern, which changes the look, and then luxury. Gives it a little bit more flair. So any one of those types. You're going to leave the mode at presentation because it gives you the most amount of slides possible. And then we want to make sure that we switch this to PDF. Our goal is to print this and present it to our client face to face. You can do a web version. It's a little bit more difficult to navigate. But we really want to try to be face to face with someone so we could gauge the reaction and see how they're taking the presentation. So hit PDF, it changes the format. We can add an image to the front. You notice it's just the address at this point. But because we can see the pictures of their homes all over the place, we want to add that image, kind of personalize it a little bit. So simply click on image, and as long as you've downloaded an image, you can snip and clip it and save it to your computer. And we're just going to grab any old picture of a house here. It can even be something generic like this. I'm going to choose that photo. And we got a nice little picture on there, right? They can see from the cover photo that it's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. And there are extra slides that you can put in here, but we've worked really hard to make sure all the available slides are in there. And you can also remove the ones you don't. For instance, am I the right fit? As you scroll through those slides, you're going to see that Sue's reviews are in there. Now you can X them out here, but I'm going to show you a quicker way so we're not wasting time in the presentation. As a matter of fact, we'll just do that now. We will go to present and share. We can add the client to this. We can save it as long as they're already in kvCore. We can make sure that this is on their account. So when you log into their customer account in the CRM, you'll see that a CMA has been done. We can add a listing agreement link. We don't do that. We'll talk about how we print our docs in dot loop. We have everything ready. And then that way, if they do decide to sign with us, we're going to do that. kvCore does allow for you to add your own net sheet, but you've got to do all the math yourself. We use the net calculator either from Lighthouse Title Agency or TransAgent if you still happen to have that. As of right now, TransAgent app does a lot more. It calculates city tax, all our additional fees and everything. We can add a video link there if we, as well if we wanted to do a little intro video, but again, we're going to present live. And it takes a little bit of time, so you can't download and print right away. But once this printer icon shows up, now you're able to print that. So we're going to click on that. It's going to open up that document. You can see that there's 35 pages in there. And you're going to scroll through, make sure everything kind of populated in there. It even shows the homes that were your target, so you have a way to show them, especially if, let's say that your client thinks their home is worth $400,000 and the market says $350,000, and his home is not updated, it's not been renovated, and the homes that sold at $350,000 are. You can show them pictures of how homes that have sold for the $350,000 compared to his that he's hoping to get at $50,000 more. It kind of helps bring them down to earth. Okay. So one of the things that I do, I had mentioned that there's certain slides that I don't print. When I go to print, before I do, I'm going to scroll through each of these slides, and I'm going to look at the page number up here at the top and say, do I want to print that page? If I do, I'm going to write that number down on a scrap piece of paper and know to print it. So for me, I'm definitely going to print page 1. That's my cover photo. To me, this is a waste of paper. It's going to talk about why am I the right fit. Well, I'm going to go into why I am the right fit. So page 3 is super important. We're going to talk about the value of an agent and what we do. You're going to want to read through these so that you can talk intelligently to your client when you're presenting it. Next page, the home selling process is a great page. I would write down page number 4. So we've got 1, 3, and 4 so far. Now these are about the company, and there's kind of a psychology to this. So when we do a presentation and we're trying to get our client to see our worth, we talk big picture stuff first, the role of an agent altogether, right? We're dealing with legal binding contracts here, and so it's really important to have someone who represents you well and knows what they're doing. Because we all know that when we put in a listing agreement, that isn't necessarily what the buyer is buying. Whatever that purchase agreement comes in at, that's what's actually getting sold, and that's what the buyer is buying. So the listing contract this is just how we want to present and sell the property. The purchase agreement says what is actually getting bought on that property. And so most clients don't know that. So we talk about big picture, what an agent is, what they do. Then we talk about who our brokerage is and why we exist. And then we move into us as an agent. Who am I? Why would you pick me? Have other people worked with me, and what do they say about me? So those are those testimonials. So you're going to pick those pages as well. Again, Susan's reviews are on here. It's built into the system for ease, and we're going to just bypass those for now. And you can just not print those certain pages. Okay. Then we're going to move on to our criteria of what we picked for our comps. So I'm definitely printing page 13. Page 14 is that review of those homes and the virtual models. Page 15 on this one is by square feet. Now, square feet in our area doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does in, say, states like California. They're pretty big on what their price per square foot is. We're not so much here. Okay, so I don't print that page. These are the comp details. There's one active, one pending, one closed. This is a good mix for my client to look at before signing. And then it goes into each of those homes and what they look like. So there's that brand new home that just went live. Here's the home that's pending, a little bit older, but we see the price on there, so that justifies our $380, right? It was listed at $349. We're going to list at $380, and the potential for us to go $20,000 is quite good. And then we move into what influences pricing, layout, aesthetic updates, all those sorts of things. This is a great slide to talk about. Why pricing is important. Research shows that if you're 15% below market value, you're going to attract 90% of buyers. And we know in our market right now, being a seller's market, that if their budget's $400,000, they got to look for a house at 380 because they know they're going to have to go above asking in order to win it, right? So this helps justify our pricing strategy. Then we move into the odds of selling at and above listing price. This is a hit or miss one. If it applies, use it. If it doesn't, don't print it. Price per square foot, again, not really applicable in our market. I don't print this one. Rate of change, selling pace can be important. This is showing that if we price it correctly, we're probably going to have something sold within 7 days. And that's about the pace that it is right now. Fresh and stale market, we just know that there's not a whole lot out there right now, so things go quick. The more aggressive we are, the faster it sells. This is a fun little slide that shows you what the list price is and what it actually sold for. So you can see in April it went just a little bit above, but in May it went a little bit below. Now we do have that active one that we don't know yet. Okay. Active shelf life, there is none. There's nothing on the market right now. So this is just a great credibility slide that you can put in there and be like, people are jonesing for property. So even if somebody's not really serious about selling, you can use this to show them, hey, we have no inventory. What can we do to make that happen? Again, not a slide I'll print, but I do like this slide here. This shows that we have 2,100 people in our ecosphere alone, meaning within Success Realty, there are 2,100 active participants looking at property. There are 702 people looking in the Waldorn area. And then we have specifically 253 people looking at that lower price range. Again, it took the lowest one, but we're not going to go for that low market. So it might drop that 253 number down by going to 380, but not by much. Okay. Then we talk about our marketing plan. That's what our job is. We market property as a listing agent. And so we're going to be putting this property out everywhere. One of the ways that we do it is core social. Everybody's on social media. Agents are as well. And so we're going to promote this listing everywhere we go. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, all sorts of things. And then we actually pay for property boosts, right? It's paid for marketing. And I do one for an open house and one as a new listing, unless it's coming soon. And so we're devoting time and money into making sure that there's paid advertising on these property. Some of you do postcards, some of you do extra signs. If you're doing those kinds of things, be sure to tell your potential client all of the things that you do. We know that agents do a lot, but not every agent talks about what they do. And so you want to make sure that you're telling them all of the things that you're bringing to market their property so they see the value when you go to ask for your compensation. All right, and then we move into the final thing, and that is, do you have any questions? Okay, and now we're going to move into our net sheet. And again, we'll have that in a different video. We actually use our net sheet to close on. You're going to leave this packet. You're going to bind it into the binders that we have available here at the office, and you're going to leave this with your clients so they can look it over and be really impressed with your presentation. All of these things are designed to show who you are as a real estate agent, what your process is, and that you know the market that we're getting ourselves into. So I hope this is helpful. Feel free to go back and review it at any time, and good luck getting that listing. Have a great day.